I've watched you. Sometimes our people disagree with you, but I mean, I understand some of your approach. I mean, sometimes we take a hard bite. It helps us as politicians.
Nowadays, when I listen to you, I even panic.
Why?
Maybe, hey,
Why do you panic?
the way you, Papa, Papa.
Figuratively, he bites as hard as he can.
Okay.
And of course, when he puts his fangs into you, you certainly feel it. I think it pretty.
Watch Johnny's bite.
I mean, I understand some of your approach. I mean, sometimes we take a hard bite. It helps us as politicians.
Nowadays, when I listen to you, I even panic.
Why?
Maybe, hey,
Why do you panic?
the way you, Papa, Papa.
Figuratively, he bites as hard as he can.
Okay.
And of course, when he puts his fangs into you, you certainly feel it. I think it pretty.
Watch Johnny's bite.
I've watched you. Sometimes our people disagree with you, but I mean, I understand some of your approach. I mean, sometimes we take a hard bite. It helps us as politicians.
Nowadays, when I listen to you, I even panic.
Why?
Maybe, hey,
Why do you panic?
the way you, Papa, Papa.
Figuratively, he bites as hard as he can.
Okay.
And of course, when he puts his fangs into you, you
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over. And surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. It's Wednesday. Welcome to Johnny's Bite. Yesterday, after Johnny's Bite, I had information from some bondholders who called me to say that their monies have been paid to them. There are two schools of thought. People say, oh, move your money. Go and withdraw everything. Some say, oh, keep it there. I mean, don't be like that. Help the banks, because even the banks themselves are suffering and all of that. So I came to tell you this morning that their monies have been paid. The question on their minds is, when the next maturity date is up, would they be paid their monies? That's the first one. Now, there's also the conversation in Parliament where the minority boycotts sittings of Parliament each time their colleagues appear before the court, particularly Mr. James Gyakye Quayson, the new MP, or if you like, the former and the current MP for the Assin North constituency in the Central Region. And yesterday, a lawyer for an MP for Okankwe Central, he made a passionate appeal to the minority MPs to come around the table for them to work together, because the business of Parliament was being affected, even though he agreed that it was the right of the minority to so walk out and go and support their friends, solidarize with them. And then yesterday also, the conversations about the buffer stock food suppliers who have not been paid, who have been assured that they will be paid. They say, well, they are not looking for those assurances. What they are looking for is their money. And they are looking for a proper way of saying that if we supply you food, you will pay, because the food has been supplied, you have not paid, and yet they are alleging that there are new people who have been brought on and they have been paid up front to deliver the food or supply the food. There's also the conversation about Mr. Brian Champon and his altercation with the minority MPs and the fact that they said they were going to report him. There's also the conversation about the fact that children are going to school today, and that for this year alone, children will vacate 4 times in the year. There's also the conversation about the unbearing hardship that the people of Ghana have to face. There's a conversation about the taxes. There's a conversation about school fees. There's a conversation about rent. There's a conversation about water and electricity bills that have hit the roof. There's a conversation about the general cost of living. There's also the conversation about how many people trust in the court. And there's a conversation about the president himself saying that Her Ladyship Justice Tokono should go and bring honor to the judiciary. It's on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. I can go on and on and on about the issues that we have. Then suddenly yesterday, around 11 midday, we woke up to a supposed leaked tape of all the issues that we have of national concern, which scratch people where they itch, which affect people directly. We are now being told of a supposed leaked tape supposedly including a bigwig of the governing New Patriotic Party. Some have said it's Mr. Bugri Nabu. I don't know. Is it him? I don't know. Then there's a commissioner of police. Now, if you don't understand what a commissioner of police is, the police has a hierarchy. The police starts a rank structure. It starts from a constable, goes to a lance corporal, goes to a corporal, goes to a sergeant, goes to inspector, goes to chief inspector, goes to ASP, goes to DSP, goes to superintendent, goes to chief superintendent, then now goes to ACP, goes to DCOP, and then goes to COP. Any COP can become an IGP. So if a COP, a commissioner of police, is supposedly caught on tape saying the things that we heard about how IGP Dampari may not necessarily be the guy or the gentleman to take into the 2024 elections because of the experiences from Asin North and all of that, it is a serious matter that must not just be discarded by the Interior Minister as he did yesterday in Parliament by saying, no, play the Interior Minister's video for me.
2024 would not be a violent election by anybody, and no one will want to thwart the will of the people. There is no plot to remove anybody. I don't know about you. We can imagine things. We have rich imaginations to go on. One thing is certain: 2024 would not be a violent election by anybody, and no one will want to thwart the will of the people.
So the Interior Minister says that we should discard the video and that it is somebody's imagination and that 2024 will not be violent. I want to ask the minister a simple question. He's a lawyer and has been a long-standing man at the Ministry of Interior. What instruments were used, what forensics were used to come at this bold conclusion that we should discard it? Because in this country, we have had Chairman Ofosu Ampofo, who was supposedly caught on a certain tape, not involving a police officer of that high rank. I'm talking about a commissioner of police who is a possible IGP of this country. And I've showed you the rank structure right from the bottom to the top. That matter is still being investigated. That matter is still in court. So is this matter also worthy, this leak tape, is it worthy of investigation? Is this one worthy of investigation? And why did the minister not choose to opt for the option of investigation, but rather quickly discarded it? I'm wondering how he arrived at that conclusion. Now, are we being led on a wild goose chase with this so that all the issues I mentioned before I started this police matter would have forgotten about it? Yesterday, 2 days ago, I showed you what was happening at Geok. Yesterday, I'm told SIGA went there. They went to look at the 2021 report. They still didn't talk to the people on the ground. They are still talking to the top, and that's where the problem is. Now, the minister is asking us to discard this. It is quite strange for me. Because we do know that in this country, before you become of a certain rank within the security services, and maybe you don't know, but the information available to us is that before you become, of a certain rank within the security agencies, you have to be walking around the corridors of power. You have to be scheming and have to be, petting people and all of that. In fact, I'm told that right from the rank of major up in the army, ADP up or chief superintendent or all those ranks from them, they have to come from the big house. That's the information I have. Is that correct? We also do know that there's no way in this country, pull up the police council thing for me in the constitution. There's no way in this country that anybody can become an IGP if he has first of all not been properly screened to be seen to be aligned. The security services, they know what I'm talking about. CDS, IGP, they know. That even within among themselves, like you heard in the tape, this man is pro-party and all of that. So the question is that Mr. Dampari was appointed by Mr. Akufo-Addo. President, he's a lawyer. He swore him in. Maybe you show us the video of Mr. Dampari being sworn in. He swore him in. Now, in swearing him in, there were 3 oaths that Mr. Dampari took, right, at the presidency during the COVID era. He took those oaths. And we also remember, if we cast your mind back, just show the visual. So just show the visual. And you can always cast your mind back to the period in 2016. And I'm trying to draw a certain line. How people within the top hierarchy of our security services have always paraded the corridors of power. In 2016, when candidate Akufo-Addo was in opposition, people had a demonstration. Bottles and stones were thrown into his home at Nima. President Akufo-Addo's house is right opposite the Nima police station. Did they act? I don't know. Right after when he won the election, the police moved and put barricades there and stood guard. Within that same period, there were top police officers, very, very top police officers, who went there fully dressed on the blind side of the police management board. That's the information we have, to go and congratulate candidate or President-elect Akufo-Addo. And guess what? One of them became an IGP. He knows himself. And those who went there, they know themselves. Can we say that IGP Dampari went to scheme? And the president has a certain history. He has a history since he came into power, a certain record of going for overaged persons to become IGPs. IGP Apietu, he got a contract extension. IGP Opomboenu, he got a contract extension. So why would he opt for IGP Dampari when he has a long term to go? He's 53. Is he putting him there so that it affects whoever comes after him, whether Baumia, whether John Mahama, whether Alan Tremantin, whether Kwabena Jepong, whether Kennedy Jepong, whoever? Was that the plan? Now, if that was not the plan, when did Mr. Dampari fall out with the president? And why would anybody so badly want him back? Play the video of the General Secretary of the NPP for me.
From the morning to now, all the stronghold of the NPP, right, there is tension there. Right. There is tension there. You take your time and go from Praso, right, to Enja. Look at what is happening there. The tension that is brewing over all these places. Surprisingly, when you go to NDC Stronghold, Pastor Finingo, the place is quiet, there's no tension there. And you have men in uniform who are supposed to make sure that there's law and order. How can people come here and be shooting? How can people come here and be slapping people left, right, center? An election that people are going to vote.
That was Justin Kodua Frimpong. In this tape, he asked the police to do better. Guess what? There were 800 police people at Asin North. The IGP himself, Dampari, who's in the tape now, whose name has been mentioned in the tape, that he was in charge of the operation at Asin North. Question: if Dampari leaves, whose benefit will it be? If Dampari stays, whose benefit will it be? Question. And I need you to be asking the questions, not just to allow for the video to be discarded, and also not lose the focus on the other key issues. If Dampari leaves, who benefits? If Dampari stays, who benefits? Are we trying to create an impression that Dampari is the Messiah IGP and that he must be maintained? Or we are trying to create an impression that Dampari is not good, so he must be cleared? And the General Secretary says that we will be forced to defend ourselves. Was he giving us an indication of what is to happen? He said it, Justin Kodua Frimpong. He said it in Asin North. Now, the point I showed you how the government of the day appoints the IGP, government of the day appoints Director General of Prisons, government of the day appoints the CDS, government of the day, Chief Fire Officer, all of it. Show me the constitutional provision for police council. The Vice President sits at the top of this. Now, the Vice President is the chairman of the police council. And that was the thing that ACP Dr. Agojo said, which perhaps got him into trouble. There's a police council. There shall be a police council which shall consist of a chairman who shall be appointed by the president, acting in consultation with the Council of State. B, minister responsible for internal affairs. That's Ambrose Derry. C, the Inspector General of Police. They are part of the police council. Now, and there are too many people on that. Kindly scroll up for me so that we can see the police council, the composition of the police council. The vice president is the chairman of the police council, Dr. Baumia. Is he interested in this national security conversation? Because the lawyers are saying that the tape is treasonable. If anybody wants our IGP out, what is the interest of the person? And is the vice president interested in this, or is he interested in just campaigning to break the 8 or to lead the MPP? The Attorney General is part of the Police Council. A lawyer nominated by the Ghana Bar Association is part of the Police Council. A representative of the Senior Retired Police Officers Association belongs to it. 2 members of the police service appointed by the president acting. So you see the president all over this. ACP Dr. Agojo told us this. Is it time we had a reform? The question is this time for us to have a proper reform? Is this time for us to properly talk about the police service and to look at cleansing it? Because whether we like it or not, the top hierarchy always will go scheming on the corridors of power. So are we pushing out Mr. Dampari so that the certain COP Mensah who was mentioned in the tape will now come to take center stage? If he leaves, who comes? And I've told you, the president has a record. Apietu, overaged. He got contract extension. Buenu got contract extension. Why did he opt for Dampari when he had older policemen who were also at the rank of COP? Like Kofi Boakye, who everybody wanted or everybody was calling for. So do not be fooled to taking this wild goose chase. There's something called agenda setting. Do not be fooled. School feeding programs, school fees problems, rent, electricity, water, minority boycotting parliament, all those issues, buffer stock people being owed, bondholders, those are the bread and butter issues. And mind you, all the 10 people who want to wave the flag for the NPP are preaching change. Is that a vote of no confidence on the president who led them to announce change in 2016, that change has indeed not come and that they are the ones who have to come and give us change? Think about it. Good morning.